Hey everybody, it's Steve Van Tassel here for Dynasty Owner. And we are going to talk about something that is new, going to be coming up within a week, and is very exciting. We're talking again about rookie drafts. And what we're going to talk about this week is we're going to talk about some draft examples and scenarios for 2021. Last week, what we did was we sat down and figured out how much draft salary cap room are you going to need to draft some rookies for 2021 in your rookie-only draft. That was new because we didn't have them in 2020, and so you need to figure out your cap space. So that's the first thing, along with researching who you want. But now that hopefully you've got your cap space figured out, or you will figure it out in the next couple of days. Then the next thing to do is sort of look at, okay, who can I draft? So last week, just to recap, we'll go to show you what you can do. So what we've got here is we've got the rookie draft. We've got the rookie draft scenarios and examples from 2020, examples from 2020 and scenarios for 2021. So what we're going to do is we've sat down. What we did already first is we talked about, well, how much salary cap room do you need? If you read last week's article, saw last week's video, you know that the range needed is like from about 5.7 million to 26.4 million. That's kind of what we're recommending. But if you go to 5.7 million, you can't draft any of the top 6 players taken in the 2021 NFL draft. You can't have Trevor Lawrence. You can't have Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, all off limits to you. So who can you draft if you've got that much room? So we're going to talk about, so we can do that. But the first thing we should do is sort of what I like to always do is to look back at the past before we look to the future. And so you can get some information from the past to see, what was a good draft last year? What was a bad draft last year? And those kind of things can help you figure out who you want to draft and how much draft capital you want to spend. So let's look at some 2020 rookie draft examples. And we have the word quotes and we're drafting quotes here because there weren't rookie drafts, as you all know, in 2020. We all did startup drafts. So we're going to take some look at the draft ADP, the average draft position, and ranking the rookies based on where they were drafted. So without further ado, let's start. So here's kind of the best 2020 rookie draft you could have had. In the first round, you would have taken Justin Jefferson, who made a little under $3.3 million, but scored 273.2 Dynasty Owner fantasy points. Your second round pick would have been Justin Herbert, who had a ridiculous season, 431.7 points for $6.6 million. And then your third pick, if you are Nostradamus and figured out that he was going to be the starting running back all year for Jacksonville, would have been James Robinson. His $763,000 a year salary would have got you 259.4 Dynasty Owner fantasy points. So if you took the best rookies in this scenario in each of the rounds, you would have spent just under $10.7 million. So that would have been a great draft. I mean, I know we didn't have rookie-only drafts, but it was possible to take all these guys, and pretty much these are the slots. I mean, Jefferson was the 11th 11th rookie taken on average in his draft. Herbert was 16th. So those are reasonable first and second round picks. So then sort of the next thing is, it's Dynasty Owner. Everybody's looking for value. So while this was the best rookie draft you could have had, it would have cost you almost $10.7 million. But what's the best value draft you could have had? Well, here's our best value rookie draft. The first round, it was Antonio Gibson, the running back from the Washington football team. He was drafted just after Justin Jefferson, but his $1.2 million salary would have yielded you 202.4 Dynasty Owner fantasy points. The second round selection, sorry, Herbert, you're too expensive, is Chase Claypool, wide receiver for Pittsburgh. He was drafted a little bit later, but it was only $1.65 million for 211.9 Dynasty Owner fantasy points. And then your third round pick, again, you're Nostradamus, you picked James Robinson. You knew what was going to happen. So that team overall, the best values was 3.65, just a hair over $3.65 million. But for that, you would have got 3 players who all had values of $8,000 per point or less. Robinson, in fact, it was ridiculous. He was under $3,000 per point. So those were the best. Now, what would happen if you had one of the worst drafts? And here's my scenario number one worst draft. And that would have been for the unfortunate dynasty owner who took Jalen Reagor, wide receiver for Philadelphia, in the first round. His $3.3 million salary, you only got 87.6 points. Your round two selection would have been the Las Vegas Raiders' first selection, Henry Ruggs, whose overall ADP was 89.7 and would have cost you almost $4.2 million a year. And he just got you 1 point more than Jalen Reagor, 88.6. In your third round selection, a little offbeat, but a lot of people took Justin Rohrwasser, the kicker who was drafted in the fifth round by the Patriots. His overall ADP was 190.9 for less than $750,000 in salary. People thought they were going to get the New England kicker. They didn't. He didn't play. He didn't score any points. You'd been stuck with him on your roster all season, had to pay to drop him, and you would have burned on average about a 16th round draft pick to get him. So I think that was the worst pick personally. And the salary for that worst rookie draft was a little over $8.2 million. Now, some people might say, well, that's not drafting a kicker. That's not too bad. You can replace him, et cetera, et cetera. So another scenario to have another, as we call it, worst rookie draft of 2020. And what we're doing here is we're subbing in Jordan Love for Rohrwasser. That would have cost you a lot more, almost $10.6 million. You would have got the same 0 points from your third round pick. But my contention here is that the other draft is worse because you were drafting Rohrwasser thinking he was going to kick, play, score points for you. If you were drafting Jordan Love, you weren't counting on him to be one of your quarterbacks last year. It was a future pick. And so you weren't expecting anything last year. So I can't call that the worst draft. That's just me personally. But, this draft still pretty bad. Would have cost you $10.6 million, almost $10.6 million, or basically almost 10% of your cap last year. So those are last year. So to try to learn from last year, now we come to some scenarios for 2021. And I mean, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of potential draft scenarios here. I mean, we've got 171 rookies in the player pool right now in Dynasty Owner. So, how can we play out all those scenarios? We can't, but we can try to look at a couple. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some rookie mock draft ADP and some salaries. And we're going to be realistic here. I'm not going to say there's 3 players with ADPs of under 10. I'm not going to pretend that you can get them in the first, second, and third round. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So we're going to play out some typical drafts for people who have a first, a second, and a third round pick at different points in the draft. So without further ado, we'll look at our early round picks. Say you had a bad year last year. Your team underperformed. You had some injuries. You tried. You didn't win the extra picks. So you only got 3 picks, but fortunately you didn't trade anybody away. And you reserved $5.7 million, kind of our low end. So who can you get? Well, you can get the consensus number one rookie pick right now in Najee Harris, the running back from Pittsburgh. Right now in rookie mock drafts, he's going his ADP is 1.6. He's the clear number one pick for just $3.26 million. Next, you could pick is Trey Sermon, another running back from San Francisco. Now, I know his ADP says 12.2, which means technically he's being taken with the 12th pick, but we have a lot of guys being taken. He's actually really the 13th pick, the 13th ranked rookie there. So we'll consider him our second round pick because we got an early pick. You can get him for $1.2 million. And then finally, in the third round is really pretty wide open. I mean, you can have your choice of player who's under $1.22 million in salary for the third round pick. The choice I made here was Romandre Stevenson, the running back from New England. His salary is a little over $1 million. His ADP right now is running 27.1, so he should be available with your third pick. But there's tons of guys you could take. I mean, as I noted in my article, you could go up high. You could take a couple of second round picks. You could swap out. So you've got a wide range of choices here. So, next we're going to look at next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some mid-round picks. So if you had a mid-round pick, if you did okay last year, you finished in the middle of the pack, maybe you barely missed the playoffs, or you just made it as the 6th seed. You got all your picks, and you've got that $5.7 million. So what you could do is in round 1, you could take Travis Etienne, the Jacksonville running back. His ADP is 6.6 right now. And he is going to cost you $3.22 million in salary. The second round pick, you could have Chubba Hubbard, from the running back from Carolina. He's going to cost you a little over $1 million. And then for your third pick, I got an A and a B option. I got Pat Freiermuth, the new tight end for Pittsburgh, who's $1.5 million, or Josh Palmer, a wide receiver from the Chargers, who's running about the same ADP and is going to be $1.26 million. Option A is going to be $5.8 million, and option B is $5.53. So, for example, if you really only had $5.7 million, you could sub out Chubba Hubbard and you could sub in Kenneth Gainwell. His salary is around $950,000, and he would take you under the $5.7 million. The next scenario we're going to present here is if you have some mid-round picks and you have only $4.5 million left. Let's say you just couldn't find the room, and but you're not a Chubba Hubbard fan, so you don't want to spend all of it on him. So right now, what could you do? Well, you could pick Javante Williams, the running back for Denver. His ADP right now is 7.3, and he's $2.2 million in salary. With your second pick, you might go for Amari Rogers, the wide receiver for Green Bay. His ADP is 22.3, so he's going to be available for you there in the mid-second round at a salary of $1.225 million. And then I didn't put a third-round pick in here because pretty much the draft's your oyster at this point. You could take anybody drafted after the middle of the 4th round of the NFL draft for your third pick. The highest guys you could take there are the aforementioned Romandre Stevenson and the new running back from Minnesota, Kene Nwangwu. I probably got that wrong, but hey, he's available, and you'd still be under $4.5 million. Next is for those of you who had a good season, made the championship game, maybe even won it. Congratulations if you did. If you didn't, keep trying. Hopefully this year's your year. But you did that, and you kept all your picks, which would be great if that happened. Didn't happen for me, but, I made a championship game. So now you've got your 3 picks, and you've got $5.7 million. So who could you take? Well, you could go low in the first round. You could take Michael Carter, running back for the Jets. His ADP is 12.1. His salary is under $1.1 million. And you'd even have enough left to take a guy who's falling in Dynasty Owner drafts. He's being drafted in the middle of the 2nd round, even though he was an NFL first-round pick. And that's Kadarius Toney from the Giants. His salary is $3.4 million, but if you've spent less than $1.1 million for Michael Carter, you've got plenty of room. And then from there, you pretty much, if you do this recommended draft, these picks, you pretty much could take any player taken in the 4th round or any undrafted rookie free agent is available for your round 3 pick. So that leaves you a lot of options here. And then finally, we're going to look at what happens in any round. If you're a team and you just love your team and you didn't want to get rid of anybody, and you cobble together enough to get $3 million in salary cap room, who could you take if you had 3 picks? Well, there's good news. Michael Carter and Trey Sermon, we've talked about them before, as our 1A and 1B here. Both of them, first rounders, going to be available pretty much wherever you're picking. Just a little over $1 million for Carter, and Sermon $1.2 million. And round 2 is rookie free agent favorite for a lot of people is Javian Hawkins from Atlanta. He's going with the 23.2 pick right now, ADP. So he's available at any 2nd round pick, basically. And so then for your 3rd round pick, option A, you've got any 4th round pick or undrafted rookie. So anybody taken in the 4th round in the NFL draft or later, you can take. If you get Sermon instead of Carter, you've got a little less salary to work with, so you can only get a 5th round pick or an undrafted rookie. So those are your options there. And we can see that there's a lot of potential draft picks we could be talking about here. I mean, as I said before, the scenarios are endless. I mean, you got 171 rookies in the draft pool, so you can make any number of combinations of draft selections with 3 picks there. So, and what's the lesson to be learned? Well, the lesson to be learned is that from the 2020 examples is that you could have a great rookie draft for as little as $3.65 million, or you could draft 3 first rounders, spend $10.6 million and get crummy players and do nothing to help your team. I mean, if you got the best players from last year, it would have only cost you $10.7 million, but a similar amount, and you would have probably got one of the worst drafts of 2020. So we're going to keep going. It's just under a week till the rookie draft start. But so next week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about more rookie draft stuff. We're going to kind of look at probably rookie ADP from mock drafts and from actual startup drafts. So not rookie drafts, but startup drafts to see where rookies are going. And then 2 weeks from now, maybe we'll take a look at some of the rookie drafts will be going on. Maybe some of them will have gone a decent portion of the draft, and we can look at like some real rookie ADP. So those are the next couple of weeks coming up, all about rookies. But regardless of your league, Dynasty Owner is here to try to help you draft your dynasty and win your league. And as you know, my articles are always up on Saturdays about 1:00. And you can also keep an eye out for new articles and videos from Matt the Jerk, who's doing his deep dive on individual teams on Wednesdays. And for those of you who are rebuilding, Jay Pounds is here to help you. His insights will be available on Fridays. So thanks a lot. Make sure to follow me at SteveVT33 and Dynasty Owner at Dynasty_Owner on Twitter. And thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.